Morning. Had an issue with the BadBoy Revolt 48-inch on a customer's property today. It started kind of feeling like something was catching as I was going forward, and it was kind of getting a little herky jerky. As I would back up, I was feeling vibrations in the foot plate, and I was just thinking, man, something sounds wrong because it would kind of go. Gurk, 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 gurk. What I found out is the battery cable had snapped. And so as I'm moving forward and backwards, the brake on the hydros was partially engaging and bouncing in and out, was causing some problems, some vibration. So I went out and got a new brake cable. I'll show you how it gets on there. I tried making a video showing step by step how to do it, but there was just not enough space to be able to get a camera in there to show y'all how to do it. So what I can do now is, after I've already got it swapped out, I'll give you the part number and just kind of going over the spots where I had to loosen up some nuts and some bolts and whatnot, give you some tricks to help you out if you're in this situation where your brake cable is broken. So here's the part number that you need. The part number for the brake cable is 064 3000 00. I got the part number off of badboymowerparts.com. It comes up as 44-inch brake cable. What you can see there, that's my problem, is there was a spring and a cable end on the end of this that the spring and the cable broke. So the spring disappeared, and this end used to be connected onto there. Now, I have gotten plenty of use out of this cable because this machine has 604 hours, and this is the original cable. So what I did, just to make access easier, is I took the pad off of the back and just set it to the side. That way I could get to the back side of the brake lever and to the front side of the brake lever. And what you're going to want to do is you take your brake lever, push it down, and that gives you access to the bolt and the nut that you need. So you take off this nut right here. There's a spring, you pop that off, and then there's your cable end. You pop that off, then your brake handle will be loosey-goosey. Then on this side, you're going to need, I used an 11/16 wrench, and one thing that does make this job a little easier is if you have a drawer of old wrenches or a box of old wrenches, the multiples, that's what that entire toolbox is just multiples that I don't really need. And then if somebody needs to borrow tools, they come out of the loaner box. But I found an 11/16 wrench and I cut it in half. So I just stuck it in the vise, used a Sawzall to cut it in half. Then I took the bench grinder to it on the end. That way it didn't have any sharp edges. And that will allow you to get in there a little bit easier to get to those nuts. So you're going to want to come in here and loosen up these nuts. See how nice and easy that little wrench fits in there? It was an old wrench that I had to sacrifice, and it made a whole lot of difference. So you're going to loosen this nut up, and you can even get this on the back side to get to the other side, to get to the other nut. Loosen those up, and then this whole cable will come up. It'll pop up, and it'll pop out of this keyhole. And then from there, cut your zip ties that are holding them all together. And then down here, behind the plate that's usually right here, so you take your plate off, and you can see this is the brake cable. It comes down right here. Now you're going to, that's an 11/16 right there as well, and you want to loosen that up. There's another 11/16 nut on the back side of that metal plate. And then if you can, I can't really, it's hard to see on the deal here because it's behind that plate. But behind that plate is where your cable end is going to be. That cable end has a 7/16 nut and washer on it. So you'll see it when you get back there. This little cross member, it goes right here. See how it goes all the way across? There's part over there, comes across over to here. Right in the middle of that is where that cable end is going to be. So you get your 7/16 wrench on the top, and then there's a nut on the bottom. Get you a 7/16 socket. You wiggle your way up in there. If you have a way of lifting the machine and taking that wheel off, that may give you more access to be able to crawl underneath and see what you're doing. I just had to do it by feel with my hands, but that's where the other one is. So you would undo that end, loosen off this nut, loosen the nut on the back side of this plate, and then the cable will fit through a tiny notch that's right at the base of this metal plate. So the whole thing will pop right up out of there, and then you've got it out. So the same thing. I started off with the bottom end. I got up underneath there. I put the cable up through that little notch, and then I attached this cable end, tightened that stuff up, and then worked my way back up to this end. I know you didn't actually get to see the process, but like I said, with all of those little tiny spots that I had to be, putting the camera on them and then being able to do the work just wasn't possible because all you would see is my hand sitting in front of the camera, loosening up those tiny nuts and bolts and everything. So hopefully that helps you. Like I said, I got the part number from badboymowerparts.com, and then I was able to use that. I called into my local Bad Boy dealer, said, hey, I've got this part number. Do you have this in stock? They said, well, it says we have it. Let me go put my hands on it. They found it. I was able to go pick it up. The part itself, I paid $45 for it, so it's not a huge expense. Like I said, this mower's got 604 hours on it, and that's the original cable, so I got a lot of use out of that cable. Now all I have to do, now that everything's tightened back on there, is put the pad back on, and I'm good to go. So sorry you couldn't see a whole lot, but that's how you swap it out, and I'm going to get back to work. Y'all be good.